Well, I mean, the stream's just waiting to load up for me, so here we go.
Well, here we are. It's round 2 of OFR Division 3 from Nurburgring. You've got Ash in the booth this evening, and also alongside me, we've got Hazy, otherwise known as Ben, as I often refer to him as in the stream. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Ben, he's racing Division 2 this season rather than he was at Division 3 last season. And he's also in the Endurance League with one of the Division 3 Dannies. So, how are you finding things?
It's been alright. A bit different with the new setups, I can say that at least.
Yeah, it's a bit different for everybody, to be fair. So it's always going to be time to just adjust and get everything right. We've got some new runners this week that I'm going to focus on early on. As Marco is leaving the pit lane there. We've got an Australian here who's driving upside down, or him the right way around. Sammy, he's teamed up with as a second team for Danny and Matty, and also I believe we have a couple of Belgians out there, Eddie Red and also Alpha, who have done quite a good job with the livery. They've got the nice Belgian flag motif on the top, which I think looks rather cool.
Yeah, it's different, to say the least. The paint is very different.
Oh, that stands out. When I raced in another league, this is before OFR time, I actually had a Porsche done in that colour livery.
We've got D-Roberts just coming onto the start line now as well for his first lap.
Yeah, he's made himself a lot of space. Yeah.
This track's quite difficult, I find, for his first turn.
This track, it is difficult. The first section especially is always going to be difficult because the turns just tighten up on themselves. The first turn's just tight anyways, as I'm watching Alpha go through turns 2 and 3. I've got them on the stream at the minute. It just tightens and tightens, and you've got this left-hander which he's come to now. It just tightens up even more. It's so
D-Roberts has just set 36 seconds in the first sector. The first sector is 36 seconds, so...
Which isn't too bad.
Yeah,
look.
Oh no! Alpha's just set quicker. It's second quicker.
Yeah, he's 35, so I'm watching his lap first. As
D-Roberts in line.
Yeah,
D-Roberts just gone down to the hairpin, so...
Yeah, you keep an eye on D Roberts for now. I'll keep an eye on Alpha as he's heading through the Smalley hairpin, heading up to the Michael Schumacher chicane. He is, but it'll take it's first lap, so everyone will be doing a banker lap. Just
you've got Eddie, which is setting the quickest at the moment by the looks of it, down in 4th.
Yeah, he's it'll be everyone for first lap, so let's just see what people do as Alpha's heading up now to the final chicane on the track.
This just come down the last corner as well.
Yeah, this is a tricky little chicane to get right, and on the edge to get right for track limits. Hello Robot, who's in the chat.
58.00 for a first lap, not too bad from the
That's not too bad. Alpha's coming over the line now. He's at a 56.9. That's a good time as well, mind you. The big hits in the 57s. Eddie's teammates into the 56.1. I know that they're looking towards times in the 55 for Division 1. So the time some of these guys are setting, this is competitive Division 2 times already.
You've got Matty coming across the line with 2 at 11.
By the way, Ben, you're very quiet.
Is that better?
That's better. That's better.
Hello, Smiley.
Hello, Smalley. Are you doing no work as usual? And no, I won't. Shut up, Smalley. Smalley the Anonymous there. And yes, that's better, Ben.
Decent. Just going on to these live timings quickly, and to be fair, Eddie set the fastest Sector 2, Sector 1, 2 and 4, whereas the Hube set the fastest Sector 3.
It's actually, the Belgians are almost packing out the top three. Only Garvey's getting in amongst the fight. Obviously Garvey and the Big Hit finished 1-2 in the last race, so this week they mightn't have it all their own way this week, so I think we've got a good fight coming.
D. Roberts is currently coming around the last chicane on the track. Oh, he's lost a bit of time through there in my opinion, but
he's in the pit
got
lane.
Back on it.
He's in the pit lane. He's gonna...
he's pitted. He's doing the one... Oh, he's hit the pit wall.
I wouldn't worry about that. He's in the pit lane anyways, so he won't lose any time. I'm expecting to see everybody in the pit lane this time.
Yeah, so am I. Oh, somebody's kept on. Oh, no, they haven't.
With it being...
glitched for me.
Within 3 minutes...
Yeah. Oh, we have got people that continued.
I'd be very surprised.
Danny has continued.
Let's have a look at Danny. Danny is... Yes, he has continued. Now I am surprised as that, as Naps has set a 58-0. I'm very surprised Danny's continued, to be fair. I was expecting him to be in the pit lane. Now he's lost out on a chance to get a fresh set of tyres, and away he goes.
He's jumped his time up by 3 seconds. 3 seconds to 2:09.
Yeah, that's good. That's good time.
It's quite a tricky track to be able to. It's quite a tricky track to be able to get your laps all together.
It is. It's a. You've got to be hooked up on it. You've got to be hooked up on it. Otherwise, it can very, very easily lead you to...
What's up, Pi2? Sorry, I didn't see your comment there.
Oh yes, hello Pi2. He always pops up on the screen from time to time. It's good to see you, Pi2. Actually, Danny's up on his time by about 3/10 here. So,
oh, Garvey's off.
As Garvey, I believe, was in the pit lane very early on. So I'm just going to keep on Danny for the rest of the lap, coming through the chicane up the top of the circuit. He's just running a bit wide.
Roberts. See if D. Roberts can set a quicker time.
As Danny's almost half a second up on his own time. So he could potentially jump one place. Let's see, he's now heading through the final chicane up the top of the circuit.
But D. Roberts has just completed his out lap, so I'll stick with him for this lap.
As Danny comes through the final corner now, and his time is into, he said 59.1, so he actually lost out on the final part of the lap. He did miss the apex on the first part of the chicane, so I think that's why he's possibly lost his time.
Oh, D. Roberts has gone wide at turn 3. He's 1/10 up on his time, D. Roberts.
Yeah,
he needs to try and get 7/10 to be able to jump up one spot, but
I'm gonna keep an eye on. The Hughes lap, see where he ends up. As Matty jumps his time a little bit more, and Amit jumps his time a little bit more. That's a better improvement from Amit, who I believe is one of the Division 1 guys. I'm sure Robot will correct me, who I know he's in the chat somewhere.
D. Roberts has kept his time at 1/10 up.
The Hube's now 2/10 up. This is going to be a very, very packed grid at this rate. There's half a second, I believe, covering first to second.
Yeah, I believe it gets to half a second and it goes up to 7/10 for all the others. 6th place, he's 1.2 seconds behind first.
is now the Hube is just heading through the Schumacher S's, heading through the rest of the lap. Let's see what he can do. Heading
D. Roberts
left,
just coming around final turn.
left and right. D. Roberts' time will pop up on the screen, so just wait for that to come through. The Hube's lost a bit of time.
57 on the dot. He was up by near enough a second, D. Roberts.
And he puts himself into 5th as the rest of the runners are now coming through. Alpha's just a new
round.
56.7. I can see that from
Oh,
here.
the big hurt has jumped D. Roberts again.
Big
And
hit
the
up to
Hube.
56. The Hube is just starting to come around the start finish line now. Let's just see the time that he sets.
56. He's jumped up to second.
Front row. That's a very good time.
Coming round.
Let's keep an eye on Garvey now coming through the final chicane. This is going to be touch and go. If it doesn't prove, let's see.
I've heard Mr. Rodden Pollux himself has come into chat through a pit lane and said he's heard that Hannibal was being approached by other teams.
Yeah, Garvey didn't improve his time.
Somebody's off.
So he remains third.
Matty's just gone off, final turn.
He flew off the track there in the final corner. But Garvey there. So the grid is looking like it's more or less being set now. You've got Eddie on pole and he's Belgian
D. Roberts is out and still on another lap.
Belgian counterpart Hube. Garvey.
Can D. Roberts jump anybody?
Alpha. The big hit is in 5th. D. Roberts, let's just go to him because he's on the final
Coming
part
around
of
to
his
the
lap.
last chicane.
I've got him on the stream now. D. Roberts is coming through the final chicane. Oh, he's made a mess of the final chicane. I don't think
Mr.
he's going
Rodden
to
Pollux
improve.
himself has believed that Mr. Hannibal is a D1 champion, but I believe that he is more than a D1 champion. No, he hasn't improved his down.
And he's ended 6th. Nap 7th, Sammy 8th, Marco 9th, and I believe it was Danny in 10th, although I'm more than likely to be wrong. So here we go for the start. Ben, if you keep an eye on the back.
Yep, I will attempt to. I will sit in with...
And I'll keep an eye on the front.
Well, I can't really do much from the start line, but we'll try it.
As we're just waiting for the lights to go.
4 lines.
And it is go.
It is a green. Oh, we've got... Marchino's making a move down the middle of the track. Off the start line. Bit of contact with Sammy, but...
Oh, there's D. Roberts is just trying to get down the inside of Garvey. Little bit of paint exchanging, but they're just about getting through side by side. Garvey is almost shoving D. Roberts off, and now he's going down the inside of Alpha.
Bit of contact.
Oh,
Bit
there's
of contact between the big hurt and Sammy.
Alva and Garvey getting into each other. This is very, very scruffy.
The big hurt and Sammy made contact into turn 3.
That was very, very scruffy start. That wasn't necessarily the cleanest start that I've ever seen. But the Hube has got away into the lead.
Oh, Big Hurt and Sammy are going into contact again. A little bit of elbows.
The Hube's getting out there into the lead. Eddie is up in second. And it's more or less everybody else for third right now as they're trying to see if they can exchange paint and see what the decals say in Braille.
5th, 6th and 7th are really close here. I think there's currently about 6/10 between them all. Between those 3.
Well, there's more or less, you could throw a blanket over third to 12th, as the top 2 have just made a bit of a break for it. They're making a break for the border.
You've got Matty at the back of the track pulling up the rear, but he's doing his best and he's keeping on the track, so all Matty needs to do is keep it smooth with this lot of how they're looking, and he could be up there soon.
Matty just needs to just get more miles under his belt. That's as simple as.
keeping it smooth, and with this lot of how they were looking on the first lap, you could possibly pull up some positions.
As the Hube is just keeping a gap to Eddie to about half a second, and just going slightly up, but they're pulling away from Alpha. D. Roberts in fourth has naps all over him, and Garvey in sixth. They're just pulling away from the big hurt slightly in seventh, who in turn is pulling away.
Oh, he's gone very
from
wide.
Marco, they're all going a bit wide.
Marco.
They're all going a bit wide. Sammy in ninth doing his first OFR race.
Matty through that line there, through turn 3, has got quite a good line through there. Just lost his rear end a little bit, but...
Danny there's in 10th. He's a second and a half clear of Amit. And Matty's he's at the rear, but he's circulating, he's doing himself a good job.
Oh, you got 5th, 6th and 7th are all very, very tight with each other. You're looking at about 4 tenths in between each driver. Garvey's just slightly pulled from naps, or whatever you want to call him, to about 1 more tenth.
Thank you, Bagpuss. I know that might be boring, but you know. Hello to Vilsec as well in the chat.
Danny is currently battling Sammy in 10th, coming up to the final chicane. Danny is currently alongside Sammy going into the final chicane. But
Sammy's got the right line to defend here. It's whether Danny can make the move stick going round the outside. Oh. Not going to happen. Oh, he is. He's made it almost work. And actually, Sammy's done well to hold the position from Danny, and Amit's just wanting to try and get in on the action.
Amit's just sitting off the back of him, trying to get on the slip along this straight, but whether or not it will give him enough into this turn 1, which you need a hell of a lot of braking for, in my opinion.
You've got to be brave going into turn 1.
Oh, Amit's going down the side. Going down the side of Danny.
And he hasn't quite got him. Hasn't quite got him. So Naps there in 7th. He's about 2 tenths away from the big 8. This is a developing little tussle.
You've got 1, 2 and 3 all looking around a second between each other, the 3 Belgians at the top.
I've run out of Belgian drivers. I've got Thierry Boutin, but I can't remember any more. Bertrand Gachot, I think, is another one. So we'll go with Boutin, Gachot 1 and 2. There we go. His Naps is he's about 3 tenths away from the big 8. He's just holding steady.
Somebody's up. There's a yellow flag. The Hube's gone round.
The Hube's off. That's from the lead. There's been a lead change.
Marchino's is also dropped down to 11th.
Oh no. That means that Eddie now takes over the lead, and he's got a gap now on his teammate Alpha in second. They're pulling away now from Garvey. And they're pulling away at about 2 seconds ahead of Garvey, who's got D. Roberts
just trying to make a move. Oh, he's just contact into the final chicane.
Oh. Just be patient. Wait for the gap to arrive.
Danny is holding off the last 2. He's got round Sammy, and he's also up into 8th. Wonder where Danny got round them.
And now D. Roberts is having a look at Garvey here for 3rd place. Garvey just braking a bit late in the turn 1, but holding the place.
Yes, Vilsec, they do use the M3 as well.
Everybody does Vilsec.
With no setups either, so it's all locked.
As Garvey is he's got almost a trolley train behind him of D. Roberts, the big hit and Naps, and also the Hube there in 7th. So this is almost 5 car battle for 3rd.
Alpha and Eddie are going to be loving this if Garvey's keeping them all behind him.
They're gone. They've checked out. They've checked out and not paid their bill at the hotel. They're speeding off that quickly.
Matty's just gone a bit wide.
Garvey's run wide into the hairpin, But D
Matty
Roberts
down
is
in 12th.
he's a little bit too far back to make any difference. Even
Matty down in 12th.
even
currently...
Lee Turner.
Oh, Matty's off.
And
he was doing... Go on.
And now D Roberts is having to defend from the Big 8 here. He's run wide. Big 8's through. Big 8's now up in the 4th place. And D Roberts made a very much mistake, and he's now down to 5th.
It looks like Naps is about to make a move on D Roberts as well, possibly. The racing machine.
As now D Roberts is up and down the inside of the Big 8, and he's got him. And Naps is wanting in on this action as well. As
Danny has currently got...
Big 8's made a mistake coming out the final chicane. A little bit of contact with Naps. And they're still side by side.
You've got Danny up in 8th, which is currently pulled a 1.5 second gap on Amit in 9th.
Danny's doing an alright job there in 8th.
Which, in my opinion, if he keeps how he is, then Danny's got some points, some big points. Sammy's just got to keep this 9-second gap from Machino's, or whatever, however you say his name.
It's Marco.
Marco. Ah, there you go.
It's Marco. It was, I had it clarified last week in the chat. D Roberts is now holding up everybody else until it's allowed Garvey and Third to pull away, and now it's a trolley train for 4th of Garvey, Naps,
D
Big
Roberts.
Hit and the Hube.
Garvey's got a 2-second gap, hasn't he?
D Roberts, sorry, yeah, D Roberts.
Eddie has pulled a 1.5 second gap on his teammate here as well.
But this is the battle to keep an eye on. Oh, and that was Big Hit, possibly run a bit wide. He's just dropping back off the back of Naps here and he's now got the Hube to possibly keep himself occupied for the next few laps.
Dropping down to 8th and 9th here. Amit pulled back over 4/10 on Danny in that last sector, and Danny has just pulled some time back off that final turn just a minute ago. He put it up to a second, but Amit's just slowly starting to pull back on Danny here.
And you've got Sammy Carter in 10th, who's just keeping his eye on these two. Marco in 11th, he's just dropping off the back of this, and Matty's still circulating and doing okay.
As long as he keeps it on the track and doesn't give in, is my way of getting it. The Big Hurt and D Roberts just made contact in turn 1, and the Hube's gone down both of them.
And it's two teammates actually side by side here. D Roberts and the Hube. Let's watch. D Roberts has just about got it, and the Big 8 trying to make his presence felt, but not quite doing it. So now let's watch between D Roberts and the Hube.
Trying to go down the inside.
Oh, this teammates are not leaving each other space. This is very much the gloves are off.
It's like the Vettel. It's like
the M3 is being made as wide as possible at the minute.
It's currently. This reminds me of Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo at Baku.
So this has been very, very friendly between teammates, I'd say.
Yeah.
Or as I like to call it, Braille print reading. As now the Hube is up in the 5th and is just starting to gap now D Roberts, and the Hube is the Big Hurt in 7th. There's too many people with the at the start. Please drop
Naps was currently pulling back time on Alpha, as I'll call him from now, but then Alpha and Eddie are the first two in the pit lane. Garvey's followed.
So it's a straight 2-stop race.
Naps has continued going.
And so is D Roberts. D Roberts has carried on as well. He's trying to do an extra lap.
And also Danny's kept going. And so's Amit. Sammy's kept going as well.
Oh, Matty's round. That, I believe, is the Smalley hairpin. He's gone round us.
Marco's gone into the pit lane.
And he's back on the track, and he's back running again.
Well, you've got Eddie, which has just come out the pit lane, currently 0 point, gone down the inside of D Roberts into turn 3, sorry. And has taken the position.
So
What a move.
Garvey's jumped ahead, but what I will say is that Eddie's taken on nearly a full tank of fuel, whereas Garvey has not. So I've got a funny feeling Eddie has already fueled to the end of the race, and that should even itself out come their second stops.
You've got the Hube and Alpha currently half a second between them, and I believe they both have pitted. Danny up in down in 8th has got a bit of space to himself. 2 seconds behind, 4 seconds in front.
Garvey at the minute, he's just pulling out a bit of a gap here on Eddie now. It's about 9/10, but that should, like I say, it should even itself out when it comes to the second stops. D Roberts and the Hube carrying on their interesting debate, their braille print exchanging.
With Alpha just following up behind, trying to get through if he can.
Naps is in, and they're really, really close. This is delaying Alpha here because he's quicker than these two, and he's been delayed by them squabbling. As
Danny's continued again.
He's going for the one stop. As D Roberts is looking down the inside.
So Sammy.
And here comes Alpha. No! D Roberts has just turned in front of Alpha.
Ooh.
And just put himself off.
First and second, Garvey and Eddie have got 6 tenths between them, currently going down in strength, and Eddie should theoretically just sit behind him, save his tyres and fuel, and he should be alright.
I think he's fueled at the end of the race already.
Well, if he saves his fuel as well, and if it's enough, then he should be sound.
He just needs to be patient and just keep the gap to Garvey at the stage. But they're now 4 seconds clear of the Hube, who has now Alpha all over him.
Alpha
and the big
will
hit
look
is
to make
not
a move, in my opinion.
He will do. He will do without a shadow of doubt.
He's very quick, that Alpha, as I have found out through this race.
Well,
Garvey and Eddie are still going at it, just into that last turn. They were bloody close there.
They're 7 tenths away from each other.
Well, a minute ago on the last turn, they were bumper to bumper.
Yeah, that'll settle itself down for the time being. The Hube's just pulled away from Alpha a little bit it's just over a second. But like I said, they're both fueled up for the end of the race, I believe, whereas the other two are not. So they'll spend less time in the pit lane.
Danny looks like he could possibly have a comfortable 8th position here, 3 seconds to the car in front and near 7.5 to the car behind. D Roberts is in.
So he is. He's possibly going for the one stop here.
That should mean Danny's in. Danny's continued going.
Danny's carried on, so he's possibly going 1 lap longer to do 8 laps for the end rather than 9 laps now to the end of the race, which is going to be a long stretch. See if D Roberts can make this work. As the big hit is just dropping off the back of Alpha, who is just keeping the Hube in touch. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Garvey and Eddie are only
Still
about 4 tenths away. And Mick apparently still hates this track. He doesn't like anything to do with the Nurburgring.
Danny's up in 7th on this. Oh yeah, because someone's pitted, isn't they?
D Roberts has pitted from last lap. So just
you got Matty, which is cruising at the back as well, still going strong.
Is just keeping an eye on Eddie and Garvey. Garvey seems like he's got a little bit of advantage through the middle of the track from Smalley's hairpin through the Schumacher chicane. And up that part of the track, he's a little bit quicker.
If he's, I'm thinking if Eddie's taking on more fuel, he's going to be a heavy load, which along a straight won't benefit him as much.
But he's managing this gap beautifully.
Oh, it's gone up to a near enough a second, 8/10, near enough a second now.
Is now Garvey and Eddie are just over a second ahead.
There's Danny.
The Hube and Alpha are just battling each other right now.
Danny's in currently now, coming into this lap.
Danny's in, so that'll be his one stop.
Alpha still kept the Hube quite close, considering.
Big hit there in fifth. He's actually made a mistake, I think. Dropped off the back. Naps has also dropped the back.
Eddie's dropped off slightly as well to a second from Garvey.
Sammy's also in, so D Roberts there in.
Got a blue flag in sector 1, I believe.
In 7th place. Amit in 8th.
Ah, yes.
And Danny is just pulling out ahead. So these two now are fine to the end. Sammy in.
Oh, you got Danny
10th.
and Amit going bumper to bumper in turn 3. As Danny's just come out the pit lane.
Let's watch these two. There's a little bit of gap, so I will leave it for now and come back when that does close up. Sammy in 10th, who's pulled away from Marco, who seems to be having a rather lonely race. He's put on the hard tyres as well. A bit different.
Doing something a little bit different.
No. And then Matty there, and Matty in 12th, who I don't think has stopped yet by the looks of it. Garvey out in the lead. He's just pulling out the gap back to Eddie. It's about a second and a half.
Oh, I don't know what's happened between Alpha and the Hube, but there's 4.5 seconds between them. And
Alpha needs to stay a little bit more in range for when they do pit second time round. And the big hit has just dropped back. There's gaps starting to develop now in the field. There's no real close battle apart from Danny is ahead of Famit.
Yeah, and there's this 1 second gap between those two.
So that tells me there's possibly been a mistake from Amit somewhere. But that now gives Danny a little bit of breathing room just to drive his own race.
Oh, Matty currently broke into turn 1 to let D Roberts through, but wasn't the best position to stop, but we're all through fine.
Indeed. Naps in 6th. He's dropped off the back of the big hurt, but he has got a bit of a gap behind him. But
Eddie and Garvey are still a second between them.
But I would expect D Roberts to play himself back into contention with his strategy come the end of the race, although possibly Naps also is on a one stop as well, I think. We'll find out.
I'm not too sure.
Big hit and 5th, the gaps have just stabilised now. Alpha in 4th is 3.5 back from the Hube.
Indeed.
And the Hube is he's 3.5 or so behind second.
He's got a 6 second gap overall. But sort of sat himself in a little bit of space where he can lose that 0.2 second penalty.
But,
as well if he wanted to.
However, Eddie has pulled time back on Garvey. As the gap is just over a second, Garvey felt the need there to actually pull a little bit of a defensive line to try and break a small slipstream. There was no need for him to do that. He didn't need to defend fresh air. And all he's done is cost himself a little bit of speed.
He just felt like doing something a little bit different. Hey Ash, loves doing something a little bit different.
Always. You've got to sometimes go against the grain. As Eddie is now, he's keeping the gap at less than a second. But as previous laps have seen, he has lost time from Smalley's hairpin up the top end of the track through the middle section. And I'm wondering if it's going to be the same this time round.
Sammy is currently down in 10th. He's got 13 seconds to 9th place in front of him, 14 seconds to 9th place in front of him, and 25 seconds to 11th place behind him. He seems to be losing a little bit of grip going around turn 3 there.
Eddie this time round, he's kept the gap fairly stable to Garvey, but I'm expecting them to be in the pit lane this time round as Garvey's got the blinky red light to do. So let's see now as Eddie comes through the final chicane at the top of the track, and they're both in. So this is where I am expecting Eddie to jump.
The Hube's in with him. Alpha's coming in. The Big Hurt's following that as well. Naps has continued with half a tank and slightly, just over half a tank of fuel.
There we go, Eddie's gone. Eddie's gone, he's jumped position. He's jumped position in the pit lane and he's nearly 7 seconds clear of Garvey. It's worked out nicely, and Alpha's jumped into 3rd as well, ahead of the Hube. So now the battle is going to be very much on for 2nd, and
D. Roberts
Naps is in 5th.
And has jumped the Big Hurt.
Oh, here we go. They're going to see if we're going to be a play again, these two. Eddie's livery is very colourful, Vilsec. I completely agree with you. As D. Roberts and Big Hit are now very close on track. Although I'm expecting,
I reckon
D. Roberts will lose his place. His tyres are in a worse state than the big hits, obviously, with their strategies. So let's see. As
Eddie has had some quite consistent laps looking at this. 57s, 357s, 56, 53.
That'll have been his out lap.
And then a 213, which is his in lap. And then 2 more 57s.
And now the
Garvey's is 57s, 57s, 58s.
And the big hit is now all over D. Roberts like a cheap suit here for 6th. So it's now going to be a very closely watched battle. As now they're just... the big hit's a little bit too far back to even attempt anything. D. Roberts is going defensive, but I'm expecting big hit... Oh, nope, he's broke too late. And now he's gone over the chicane and he's lost the place.
You've got a second between the Hube
himself.
and Alpha. You've got 1.7 seconds. Oh, Alpha's managed to pull back on Garvey. The second behind Garvey, and 3rd and 2nd now. Half a second going into turn 2 and 3.
Yes, I've got my eyes on that battle now on the stream. So Alpha's half a second or so back from Garvey, with the Hube just keeping watch of these two. It's going to be just purely which driver is quicker. And at the minute, Garvey is holding position quite nicely. Eddie in first, he can just manage the gap and just make sure that he drives to Garvey's pace. He doesn't need to worry too much about having to go all out to pull away. Just manage what he has to the end and win the race.
He's
Garvey and
got
Alpha
purple
could,
first. Oh, second, sorry.
Garvey and Alpha, this could be the battle to watch for the rest of the race, because it looks like they're dropping the Hube as well. They're dropping the Hube a little bit. Hube's only is about 2 seconds away. So let's see if Alpha can make any sort of move stick, as he's now heading up to the final chicane of the track at the top end.
Well, you got D. Roberts and the Big Hurt have got a 2.7 gap between them as well, 6th and 7th.
Yeah, that'll have been a consequence of D. Roberts' mistake at the end of the last lap. He's now being gapped. His tyres are no longer in good a shape anymore. Eddie is setting new fastest lap, 56.1.
Looking at this, the Hube is running a little bit less fuel than Alpha, but and about the same as Garvey. I believe they've both got enough left, and Alpha just overfueled it in the first one, but he's gone for it.
Eddie there in first now. He's got 6.5 seconds to Garvey. That should be enough to see him through to the end now. Alpha third, just about a half a second back from the Hube in fourth, who made that mistake early on, but he's recovered his position well. He's got 7 or so seconds back to Naps in fifth, who was a little bit lonely at the stage from the Big Hurt in sixth. He was nearly 5 seconds now clear of D. Roberts, but D. Roberts is a little bit cut adrift. There's Danny there in eighth. He's 6 seconds or so.
Alpha was on about just making a move onto Garvey there, but he's done it. He's gone down the inside.
Let's see. Oh no, he's gone wide. Here we go. Here we go. Alpha's keeping the inside, a little bit of rubbing, but they're more or less keeping it steady. But now Alpha's on the wrong part of the track. He needs to be the other side for the chicane, because all Garvey needs to do is just brake and force Alpha onto the wide line. No, he hasn't done it.
He's gone through, but he hasn't done it. This might give the Hube time to catch up on Alpha here as well. We could have a three-way battle here for second.
This is now Garvey's already gone defensive, and he didn't need to do that. He's cost himself speed in an area he didn't need to defend, and now Alpha is all over
and
Garvey.
the Hube's just pulled back some time there as well on Alpha. Just needs to keep his race a bit neat, and could possibly have one of them here if one of them has an incident.
Garvey just broke a little bit too early, and it's end up with Alpha going into the back of him, but they've kept it.
The Hube is on. There is a three-way train right now for second.
So now, this is getting close, but I think Alpha is just he's been a bit too impatient. He just needs to be patient and not
wait into a straight
and not force the issue here.
Oh, the Hube's down the inside of him,
and he's ended up costing himself. His impatience has cost him a place. There's now where the Hube's got up into third. It's now going to be the Hube v Alpha for second place. This final lap could be. There's something about the Nurburgring and final lap deciders, because we had one in the Division 3 Beginners Cup race last season.
Last season, yeah.
No, that was a dramatic finish.
Was it Hyder, D. Roberts, Hyder, Niels, and Weird TV, wasn't it? I believe.
D. Roberts as well, I believe.
D. Roberts, I think, just off the back.
As now the Hube's going down the inside of Garvey.
Garvey's turned into him.
That was a little bit of a dive bomb, in my opinion. As now the Hube's got into second and starting to pull away. Alpha's got Garvey as well. So now Garvey's lost his chance of a podium, possibly.
Alpha moving out into the middle. Garvey's going into the inside of Alpha.
You see, Alpha dove a little bit too early for the inside.
Garvey's got the inside.
Garvey's got him. Garvey's got him. As now...
Alpha's just getting a little bit too impatient on this final lap. Well, the final 2 laps, leading him to go wide into turn 2. And into the back of Garvey.
He's just headbutted Garvey again. That's the second lap.
And he's losing it a little bit.
That's the second lap in a row. Oh, he's trying too hard. He's overdriving it. He's overdriving it, and now he's cost himself a chance of a podium in one fell swoop. As Garvey again has gone onto the back of the Hube.
Whereas Eddie's just cruising 8 seconds in front. We got a yellow flag.
Got a funny feeling that's a back marker. Yep, it's Matty.
That's Matty.
That's Matty still going.
Looking at Matty's times, he's had some good times around this track. Just needs to watch out as they come past him.
He just needs to be careful, just make sure the back markers get through, gets past, and he does. So that's all nicely done.
Fair play to Matty though, I give him respect for still sitting in this race. I've done the same thing at Nurburgring last season as well.
He's circulating and he's picking up more miles in OFR, which is exactly the right thing to do.
Hube is currently... Oh, I thought the Hube has gone defensive, but Garvey's gone for it.
Meanwhile, the final corner, Eddie comes round and he takes a checkered flag first. That's a good job there from Eddie. Well done. As now the Hube is going
to be a race for the finish line.
And Hube has just about got second place from Garvey.
1/10 between them.
And Alpha finishes 4th.
Naps coming round the final corner.
Naps is in 5th, and the big hit is coming round for 6th. So that's a good haul of points for them. D. Roberts in 7th.
His front tyres are absolutely mullered.
He's the one stop didn't work for him. He's ended up.
Danny in 8th. Danny's kept his position.
Being nowhere, so that's some more points there for D. Roberts in 7th. Danny coming round the final corner now as he gets more points, and a good solid drive there from Danny. Amit 9th. He's also done a good job today, as Amit. He's kept it on the island. He's been consistent. He'll get quicker as the season goes on, so that's a good job for Amit.
Sammy down in 10th has done consistent for my view of the race and kept on the track and done what he needed to do.
And he scored a point for his troubles as well, so that's a very good job from him. Last driver to come across the line. The last driver to come across the line will be Marco. He's just heading up now to the
He's
final
been consistent as well. These drivers are quite consistent with their times, to be fair. A lot more consistent than I am.
Matty doesn't like the track, but that's his fault.
I believe he got that from you, Mick.
As now Marco comes through and he's the final finisher in 11th place on his hard tyres still. So there we have it. That's a good win for Eddie in his first OFR race, I believe. Very well done to him, and also everybody for a good race. Any final thoughts, Ben?
Consistency was unbelievable for some of these drivers, to be fair. Danny done good. Danny kept it in there. Matty, fair play to him for keeping going and not actually just quitting halfway through the race. But other than that, I think I give the driver of the day to driver of the day. Who should I give that to? It's got to be between... I'm going to have to give it to the Hube. The Hube in there with his battles.
I'm not going to give it to the Hube. He made a mistake early on. To me, it's got to be Eddie for his first OFR race, his first victory. So to me, it's got to be Eddie in my opinion. But that's just me personally. That's just how.
He's pulled time, but I was looking more for the battles and more of the intense bit of the battles that they had. Whereas
I feel like Eddie's done a good job. So it's a good job for everybody. There's been some good battles. Well done to all. It's another solid race for D3. And on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Tomorrow night we've got the Super Formulas.
I'll be involved in that.
Where Ben, you'll be racing. So best of luck to you tomorrow night. I'll be commentating and watching. So thanks for now and goodbye.